Hi, everyone. Today I am going live. I have something that I'm really excited to talk about. You may have seen me post last week that I was going to share about the three main lies that diet culture taught us to believe. And that is what I'm going to share today. But I want to just talk a little bit about why first, because you might be wondering, Katrina, why are we still talking about diet culture? Like, this is 2026, and we're done with that. We're done with diet culture. Yes, we are. We absolutely are. But I see it's still getting in the way, and I see how it is getting in the way in this kind of subtle way that we don't necessarily want to address. And there's this bypass of sorts happening because of what's been embedded into our subconscious that we haven't maybe worked all the way through, that isn't allowing us to have the relationship with our body that we are desiring to have and sometimes even claiming to have. And I hear this in the sessions I have with my clients, where there's this kind of this like shame around still knowing that there's some of these things that are from an old way of thinking, old patterns of thinking, old ways of being and believing that are still there. And yet, because they aren't appropriate to talk about any longer, because they aren't they aren't what is broadly like okay, there's a shame, because shame is what we hold in the quiet. It's what we hold in the dark. And when shame doesn't have a voice, when it doesn't have a way to to be expressed or to be moved, then shame can be heavy. It can be so heavy to hold. And so I want to dig into some of that, into why are we talking about these lies of diet culture, right? It sounds like an article from 1995 when we were just getting started on like, what would it mean to be body positive? What would it mean to have a healthy relationship with food? What would it mean to stop dieting, right? And so that's all great, but we just need to revive the conversation a little bit so that we can sink into it in a deeper way, and we are ready for it, and we need it more than ever. Why do I care about this so much? I because I don't, like, who cares about diets, right? Who cares about this thing that is that we think about in kind of this like trivial way, right? But the reality is, as trivial as diet culture might seem, what it has embedded into us and in how is preventing us from living the sacred life that we all need to live right now. That's the conversation. That's what's really important. So we know that I bet, especially if you're following me here on Substack or anywhere else, that you have a desire to live a sacred life. And there's a lot of conversation I just sent out in my newsletter today around what that means to live a sacred life. To me, I mean, I think it used to mean this idea of like living really spiritually. It had to do with my practices around spirituality. I've been practicing meditation and yoga since I was 15. Like, I was like, that's my sacred life. That's how I bring the sacred into my life. But and then it used to be compartmentalized from me, that was the sacred part of my life. And then, and then I took care of my body, and I exercised well, and I ate nourishing foods, but they were kind of two separate things. And what we're all being called to do, I feel like, at this time, and what humanity really needs in order for us to leap into a new level of humanity, a new evolution of humanity, where we can live in reciprocity, in harmony with the earth and with each other, is to really embody the sacred. And so we have to, if you know the chakras or work with them at all, we have the crown, where we're like communing with the divine, and then we have the root, which is the foundation of our physical being, of our entire energy field. And And so we have to be able to have a clear channel for that communion with the sacred to come down into all the way through into our body. And when it comes all the way through into the body, what I'm talking about is not just our physical body, I'm talking about our physical lives, our physical reality, because that is what the body is representative of. And unless we are bringing that sacred all the way down through the body and it isn't getting stuck anywhere in that flow of energy, then we aren't actually living our life to the fullness that we could be living it. We aren't deriving as much meaning as we could. We aren't, everybody talks about wanting to live their purpose, live their meaning, live most fully. That's how we do it. It's moment to moment. How much of life am I truly living? And that's what happens when we bring the sacred all the way down and through, and we recognize that our body, this physical reality, is how I live my most meaningful life. It's how I bring the most purpose into my life, through making each breath, each moment that I'm in it count and matter, bringing the sacred into the matter of my being, the matter of my life. And so the thing that I think back to, like, 10 years ago or so, maybe even a little longer than that, where in the spiritual community, there was very much this conversation around spiritual bypassing, where, like, if you were, there was kind of this inclination to just skip over the hard parts, and say it's just all that matters is that we love everyone. All that, let's just like bring light around it, and we'll just have it feel better. Like, it was, let's just turn that over to God. And all of these things aren't bad things, right? Like, I think those are all beautiful things, but we can't skip over the truth, the reality, the physical experience, and just do that, right? We can't just go there without also recognizing the truth of what's going on. So that's a spiritual bypass, right? When we just jump to looking at it through this spiritual lens, kind of eject up out of the body so that we can see it from this other angle and make it just look better, right? But in order to truly do that in a way that matters most, is to let ourselves have a full flow of energy, where we're really recognizing, what is it to have this experience in my physical body? What am I feeling, right? What is the action I can take around it, so I'm not just having this passive experience in life? And then we can move up into my heart's desire, and how can I connect with others and really see others and witness others and have them see myself and express my truth, right? And we move all the way up through, so we're not bypassing anything to get to this place of love and light. In a similar fashion, and then I promise I'm getting to the three things. In a similar fashion, what's happening now is we're working on bringing this, that's called ascension, right? We're ascending up to commune with the sacred, to commune with the divine, to sit in unity consciousness. Descension is bringing that sacred, knowing that those sacred qualities down into the physical form. And so we're bypassing to say, oh yeah, I care about my body, and I'm going to take care of it. A lot of people are really committed to their exercise, to their to eating well, to they know the importance of taking care of the body. But there's been a bypass in a similar fashion as when we were, with the ascension, a bypass with the descension, where it's kind of like, I don't really want to, like, explore, what I'm feeling behind that desire or not. Like, I just want to make sure my body's taken care of. So I will bypass, maybe with medication or with techniques that are control, right? Like, for example, like, I just eat these things that make my body, have the right blood work, look the right way, um, and yet I'm not tuned into, like, what it is I actually desire, what actually feels good to my body. So I'm bypassing this really important um, aspect of my own power, around my own desires, around what feels pleasurable to the body. And so it's this kind of like management slash control that is getting us to a place of representing that we are in our body and that we are taking care of our body. But what I find is that there's a lot of skipping over, a lot of bypassing that's happening in order to get to that place in a similar fashion to the bypassing to the love and the light. We're just bypassing right down to the physical. And so the three main lies that are still sitting in the subconscious of so many people that I sit with, that I see represented in culture all around, that I can feel even present in myself that I work with, are these. So the first one is that the body cannot be trusted. And truthfully, the body is the most honest thing that we have access to. It is the only part of our life that is going to be able to represent the truth. And yet we have been taught, it has been ingrained in us that the body cannot be trusted. If you were to just think about what it would be like to not have to have a buffet of your favorite foods every day um, without any parameters around how you were going to handle that. Just notice as I say that, what comes up for you. I mean, probably the mind that's like, I know better than diet culture will say, yeah, I'd be fine. It's fine, right? Like I'll just eat and maybe it would be for you. Maybe so. But just notice if there is any like, oh, like what would happen? Like any tightening, any constriction. There is and it's not just with food, right? The body can't be trusted to 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 have normal cycles, right? Um I mean, there's so many ways. Think of all the ways that you might track or manage your body, and that will tell you where you are buying into the idea that you cannot trust it. And developing that trust with the body is like accepting the services of the most profound oracle, the most insightful psychic. The body, when you develop that trust, which is a relationship that has to be developed, it doesn't just happen on its own. And it's why, even if you are at a place where you are starting to trust the body, there is, if you are, especially a woman who's grown up in this culture in the United States, or any Western country like it, that there is going to be some distrust that has been embedded into the body, into the relationship with the body. So, just exploring how much you can trust, because things like people will say, well, just eat till you're hungry, or eat when you're hungry and eat till you're full, right? And that's great. But if we have never been taught to trust the body, then we don't really, or even can feel the body, then maybe we aren't really picking up on when we're satiated. Maybe even if we are picking up on when we're satiated, there's still an underlying story in there that's like, but I don't know when I'm going to eat this again, or I don't know, or it just feels good to keep eating it. These are underlying things that are driving more of what's going on. And it's the stories that are carried below the surface, the subconscious programming that come from the lies we were taught, but they also come from the ways in which we grew up and the ways in which we interacted with food. We learned so much more at the table than just what to eat, how to eat. We were learning the stories that were carried in the people that we sat at the table with. So the self-judgment, the the body distrust. All of these things were coming through the abundance or scarcity mindset, the guilt or shame associated with food. All of these things are those are the kinds of things that are in that subconscious programming that are going to then determine how that interaction with food is playing out. And if they aren't healed, if those things aren't healed, and those are the things you get to when you explore your relationship with food in a really true way, those are the things you get to. You're not uncovering your story around like, oh, I should only eat this many calories in a day or whatever that is. Like you might get there, but that's pretty surface level. It's why below that. Why are you so invested in that? What does it mean to you? Where did that come from? When did you learn it? Because a lot of these things were learned before we were even 8 years old. And those are the things that we are getting at through our relationship with food, through how we sit at the table with a plate of food, how we grocery shop, how we procure food, how we create food in the kitchen. It's just one way of getting to what is blocking you. It's a perfect way, right? Because everybody does it. Everybody eats. Everybody does it daily. And you are communing with your body when you eat. You are communing with your own body. You are communing with the earth body. And so in that communion, each day you have an opportunity to understand, where are the blocks with how I trust my body? Where are the blocks with how I experience my body? And to deepen into that relationship with your body so that you can deepen your relationship with your life. Okay, the second lie is that control equals safety. And so, control is something that I think most people associate with well-being, having enough control, enough discipline to go exercise every day, to eat the foods that are right for you versus not the right ones, right? And so we have this like, how controlled can you be makes you a healthier person. And this not necessarily what we want to believe or what we will even tell ourselves we believe, but what sits in the subconscious programming, maybe a little conscious, right, of most people who have grown up in this culture, that control equals safety, control equals well-being. And when we are controlling, we are at battle. We are at battle with the body, because we are creating the experience that we think we should have from the mind versus the experience we are actually having in the body, trusting that and honoring that. And you guessed it, when we trust that and we honor that, that's when we have a more full, rich, sacred experience of life. We cannot have the fullness of experience of life if we are controlling the experience of our body. And so unwinding this belief that control creates safety is one of the key things that has to be dealt with in order to have that sacred experience with the body. The third lie is that when you fail, you haven't tried hard enough, that we have to work hard to be healthy, that it has to be this this management game, this control game, that it is effort in order to have a healthy body. And the truth is that belief is what keeps us coming back for more. It's what the billion-dollar diet industry stands upon, is this idea that you can never succeed and that you're always going to be failing, that your body is never going to be good enough. And so you're never good enough, because we equate how enough we are in this world with how good our body is, instead of living in the truth of the body, with the body, in our enoughness, in the enoughness that exists simply because we exist in this body on this earth. And so our health is something that we can actually rely on. Our health is something that is inherent to us. It is innate. It is something our body is naturally always striving towards. And that is not what we are taught. We are taught that our body is constantly falling apart. That, like if you didn't manage and control it, oh my God, what would happen, right? The truth is that like any other living being on this planet, every tree, every flower, every animal, our bodies know how to heal. They know how to repair. They know how to regenerate, and they are always working to do so. And so, um, and we have this life arc. That's a different conversation where our bodies age, right? And so that has to be taken into account. But it doesn't mean that that's been like really muddied how we can accept and trust the body and allow for aging. That's a different conversation. I'm not going to go into that today, but just know that I think just presencing these lies so that we can begin to bring into our awareness where that might be existing in our life and begin to unwind it is what I'm going for here. So the lie that when you fail, you didn't try hard enough, that when your body, whatever fail means, to come back to that you are a living being that is enough just as you are, and you are always striving for health innately. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there. And I want to share now that because this is something I'm clearly so passionate about right now, I think is so important for where we are in humanity, for this kind of like we're at this turning point, this crux where we can kind of walk one way or the other. And I really believe that the more people that are in their body and bringing their the sacred qualities that they are tapped into down and through, all the way through the body, having that fluid channel of energy running from root to crown, crown to root, from the body to the sacred to the body, the more we will all be able to live in harmony with each other and with this beautiful earth we live upon. So that is why I created a few years ago the program, The Sacred Art of Eating. I call it The Sacred Art of Eating because eating is the channel in to the deeper things. We go so much deeper. We start, there's 5 modules. It's a 5-week course. And the whole time you have access to me, to a supportive group, and we're talking and sharing the whole time. And you can get your questions asked, all the things. But the first week, we are talking about what it means to come home to the body. We're deepening into this conversation like what we had today. The second week, we are tuning into that rhythm of being, that being as a being of nature, being a being of nature, and what that means to us if we were lean into that, the natural cycles that are part of that. And then the third, we go into the energetics. So we go beyond the physical body and we move into the more subtle layers and how to nourish those and what that means in terms of our relationship with our body, our relationship with the sacred life. And then the next one, we actually do go into some conversation around food and how to, in simple ways, think about food so that it can nourish your body in the best ways possible. And there's no rules. There are no like shoulds or shouldn'ts. There are just some basic things that help us to live in harmony with the earth and to nourish our body, to bless our body from the earth with what we eat. And there are some things to know about that are really important, and that we need to be able to have a conversation around how to eat in healthy ways, in ways that nourish the entirety of our well-being without it being tied to some kind of like diet or management or control of the body. That's what we do in the 4th module. And the 5th module is all about that sacred expression of you that comes from being nourished and bringing that sacred all the way down into the body. Every single module has a teaching, it has integration practices, it has a worksheet, it has a bonus video from a teacher, a fellow teacher friend of mine who talks on that topic from a slightly different perspective. And so there is so much goodness. This program is very, very rich with content, and it's fun to move through. And like I said, you get to join a supportive community and have me as a support all the way through. So if this is interesting to you, go ahead and let me know. I'm going to drop the link in the chat, and I would love to have you join.